Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
Good morning. Welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. Lots of turkey, lots of family, all those good things. We're still smack in the middle of our dual enrollment season. It's been a crazy time. I had a little time last week in East Tennessee, caught up with some of my clients there. And a big shout out again, thank you to Mike Masaglia of Mike Masaglia State Farm in Oak Ridge, letting me use his conference room. I was able to run 5 appointments that afternoon. Had scheduled 6. One couple, just their schedule got too busy. They're real busy. They're retired, but they're still busy, so we weren't able to connect. And so hopefully we'll get that one coming up. And I was able to also get with some of my Pigeon Forge clients and get some of that stuff taken care of. So that was great. Had a little time away, but it was working. It was a working trip, but still a good time. Just fun to get away for a little bit. I know the team loved it because I wasn't there. They were able to work without me. And that's part of one of the things I wanted to talk about today is just calls I'm getting now. We're getting all those last minute calls like, oh, I need to talk to Matt to see if I need to change my plan. I have 2 other licensed agents in the office. They're capable of doing that. Now, of course, if it's Medicare, then they're going to need to talk to me or Bri for the Medicare, but we're getting a lot of the folks, again, it's the healthcare marketplace stuff. All 3 of us do that. Me, Bri, and Caliyah all do the ACA marketplace. They're both very capable on that, and usually it's just a matter of reviewing, maybe updating your income, and then seeing if the plan makes sense to go forward. And what we do usually on that is if we're looking into your records to update you for the next year, we'll go ahead and run that through. Just go through the application process again and just make it formal. I did that with a couple yesterday. We didn't even change anything. We kept the income the same, kept the same plan, but we did kind of look at, did it make sense to stay that plan or another plan? And it ended up, for them, it made sense to just stay with the plan that they had. But sometimes it's different. Sometimes maybe they took a plan, tried a plan that was maybe a little less expensive, not maybe one of our big name carriers, and had trouble with the network. Had, their doctor just, they ended up paying cash, having to pay out of pocket for that to see their regular doctor because they weren't in network, things like that, or couldn't find a specialist for something, that they have to see a specialist about and couldn't find one in network with the plan they had. So then it makes a lot of sense to change. But most of the time, it just kind of carries forward. I also caution those that have a lower income and they maybe just barely, and sometimes they don't realize they just barely qualified to get the tax credit. We try to educate our clients on that. If we put on their income was going to be, estimated income was $15,000 last year, that's actually not enough to get a tax credit. It's a little confusing, but you can make too little money to be able to get a plan through the healthcare marketplace. They're not zero plans. Just kind of an example, the couple that I worked with last night, their plan itself is like $2,400 for the 2 of them. But they were getting a $2,200 tax credit, so that still made it affordable. So you see a lot of the ads on TV. There's a carrier ad going out there, but also the government will put out, especially like on Facebook, and they'll talk about there's many plans are $0 or less than $10. Well, the plans aren't $0, and they're not less than $10. How much you actually have to pay for them could be based on your income, but they're subsidized, and they're largely subsidized. It's called the Advanced Premium Tax Credit. So the plans aren't $0 in themselves, and that's why a lot of people are like, well, I'm making less money this year. Why do they say now I have to pay $1,200? Well, it's like because you don't qualify for the tax credit anymore. You need to make a little more. And again, I always say when I'll run into that a lot with food service workers. They work on tip. They want to avoid as much tax as possible. So if they can get a cash tip and not reported on their W-2. That's the way they want to go. And I always have to tell them, it's like, if you want the health insurance tax credit, you need to claim a few more of your tips. And generally, they're going to also be in that tax bracket of they're going to get everything back anyway. So they're not really saving themselves by not reporting those tips. I know a lot of people now, maybe I may get in trouble for taking this stand, but I do put the tip on my credit card because when they're getting older and they're starting to look at Medicare and starting to look at how much Social Security they're going to draw, that those lower years of income aren't helping their Social Security and they're not paying into their Social Security. So forcing them to report those taxes, I actually look at it as I'm actually helping them prepare for their future. And I know, like I said, I may get some blowback on this, and that's okay. It's my opinion. And the other thing is, when Laura, our daughter, was working at a restaurant for a while after college, or during grad school, and after she graduated, she needed health insurance. We was before up to 26 could be kept on their parents' insurance, and I had my military insurance. And once she hit, I can't remember, it was 23, and actually it cut off before that because she had so many college credits. She had enough college credits to have her bachelor's degree even before she graduated, so they dropped her because she'd already achieved her 120 semester hours of college, so she was no longer eligible for my insurance. She needed insurance, so she took a job at the restaurant. I'm not going to plug them, nothing against them, but I'm just not going to plug them. So she could get insurance. And that was before the ACA, so a lot of places now are only offering insurance to like management. She wasn't management at the time, so she's an hourly employee, and so she, they took her insurance out of her paycheck, and if she didn't report some of her tips, then she wouldn't have enough to pay her insurance. So those are some of the things why I say, you need to go ahead and report a little more of your tips to make sure you're getting covered. But those are people we can really help. So, if you're working in food service, or you've got a family member working in food service, and they say they can't afford insurance, have them give Bri and Caliyah a call. We probably can get them insurance, and they're very inexpensive, especially because they're on lower income. And we also run into the issue of and I don't remember who the family was now, and it doesn't matter because I'm not going to tell you who they are. Their daughter's in college. And they would say, well, should we do it on her income? And she was getting $400 a month for a summer job or something. It's no, you're still claiming her as a dependent, but she, we can get her health insurance based on your income, even though they had their insurance through their employer or something. I don't know the full story on it. It wasn't my client, but those are some of the times, you don't have to just keep paying for your child's insurance. Now, if you're not claiming them as a dependent, it's a little harder to get them through the marketplace. But then again, a lot of times it makes sense of you're just paying more for your insurance to have them on yours, or they actually could maybe have one with lower deductible if they're getting it based on their income. And those are some things that, we're used to working in those scenarios. So give us a call, see if we can help with that. So that's what I say. I want to plug that, Bri and Caliyah are both very capable to help you with your health insurance questions or your renewals. And even if you're my client, give them a chance to help you. It's I've got a client I've got to follow up with that I just got lost in the mix of everybody needing to talk to me and the appointments I was having. And the way to bring that up is, again, you don't have to wait for me. See if they can answer your question, or see if they can set up a proposal for you. I don't mind sharing that business with my staff. I just give them a share of the commission, and I have time to be working with somebody else, either a new client or not losing that client. So that's why I have staff, is so I can help more people. They're not there just to answer the phone to pass everything to me. I mean, I don't need 3 receptionists. I have a receptionist and I have 2 agents, and I want those agents working with clients. So please utilize them. They're very capable. They'll get you taken care of. So this is the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We have one more week, basically, of the Medicare annual election period. I don't like calling it open enrollment. That's not the official title for that period. There's other things called open enrollment. And then we have it one more week of the ACA open enrollment to get people's plans in place for January 1st. Now, we do have another month to January 15th to help those with the marketplace plans. But what we do after December 15th will take effect on February 1st. So if you're wanting to get your health care taken care of before, so it's you have a new plan, or you make sure you're on the plan you want to be on January 1st, we do need to do that before December 15th. So we've got 2 weeks left to get your ACA plan taken care of, and 1 week to change your plan for January 1st. And I always tell, Medicare supplement, a lot of people, I've got a lot of calls, people say, well, is there anything I need to change with my plan? And there isn't. Now, your drug plan, yes, you have a deadline. There is no deadline for a Medicare supplement plan. If you have a cancer plan, and I'm going to talk about some of those kind of plans after the break, but those plans don't change. They did. Now, your Medicare supplement, your premium will change, but it doesn't necessarily change in January. Every company has a different time that when they do their rate adjustments. It could be August, it could be May, it might be September. Each company does it at a different time, and that'll be their rate for the year. And a lot of them, they'll do their rate change on whatever month, like I mentioned. Your rate won't get adjusted until your anniversary date of your plan. And I'm going to say not all of them, but most of the plans will do it that way. So if you just signed up for a Medicare supplement 6 months ago, and I do get those calls, oh, what's my rate going to be next year? It's going to be whatever it is now. I don't know what new rates are going to be for people who have a plan. I'll get updates maybe a month or two before their plan changes, and the company will say, hey, they CC me like on the email they send out to the client saying this is going to be your rate starting on March 1st or whatever the case may be. So there's no changes to a Medicare supplement for the next year. But everybody that has a Medicare supplement probably has a Part D drug plan. That deadline is December 7th. That you have to take care of then. A Medicare Advantage, we could still switch it after the first year. We have a 3-month window for what they do call open enrollment, where we can change your Medicare Advantage to a different plan. Or if you're thinking of going to original Medicare and get a Medicare supplement, all we have to do is fill out an application for a drug plan during that 3-month period, and that will disenroll you from your Medicare Advantage. Now, I always caution on that. Let's do the Medicare supplement application and make sure that's approved, and then do the drug plan application, because it will disenroll you from that Advantage plan. Now, we can do them both at the same time, especially since, if I can tell you, I'm pretty assured that your plan will be approved, because we can also, or I say you would have to call the company, whatever drug plan we put you on, and withdraw that application if you didn't get approved for the Medicare supplement. So it's not the end of the world if we did them both at the same time. We can figure out which drug plan that's going to fit you, and just do that application once we have the approval. And because that's something real simple to do by email, or if you're local, just come back in the office and redo it at that time. So we're coming up here on the break, and after the break, I'm going to talk about some of those ancillary plans that I mentioned a couple minutes ago.
On the 12th day of Christmas, Twin Lakes gave to me. Twin Lakes is celebrating their customers this holiday season with the Twin Lakes 12 Days of Giving Christmas giveaway. Now through December 18th, visit them online at twinlakes.net to get your name in the bag. There will be over 75 winners with names drawn every day. To increase your chances of winning, revisit and enter every day. Winners will be announced on the Twin Lakes Facebook page beginning December 7th. Learn more at twinlakes.net.
This holiday season, Habitat for Humanity's Restores are here to help you get your home ready for the festivities. Whether you're decking the halls or searching for the perfect gifts, our Restores have everything you need, from furniture and home decor to building materials, all at incredible prices. And don't miss our special event on December 21st. Bring the kids out to meet the Grinch himself from 10 a.m. to noon. It's the perfect way to make lasting memories and share a little holiday mischief. Habitat Restore off South Jefferson Avenue in Cookeville.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, welcome back. Like I said, we're going to talk about the ancillary things. One of the things, I was listening to a podcast here just in the last day or two, and I've heard this, and not to say phrase, but this discussion before, that when you write life insurance, and you deliver that death benefit check to a widow or a parent or someone, that loved one, whoever they were the beneficiary of, and you give them the check from the insurance company. I have not had to do that. I've only had one life insurance client that that the spouse had to file the claim, and I don't know that, and it happened like a month right after I wrote the policy, so I'm not even sure it got approved, because they do look back and figure, he died of a heart attack, and double checking his health records to see if he had been looked at for any heart issues, and they can decline paying. Unfortunately, they do that. They don't, just because you get a life insurance policy, there is what's called a 2-year contestability period, so they can look back and make sure that you didn't kind of hide some health issues when you got the life insurance policy. policy. Then they may have paid out too. I don't know, because that check didn't come through me. They had it set up to where if they did get the check, it would come to them. I do know that spouse still has her policy still active. I get about 20 cents a month commission on that plan because she still has it. But one of the things, and it's kind of frustrating for us, if you've heard me talk about what's called the scope of appointment, when I talk to someone about their Medicare, if I'm going to be talking about their anything that involves their Part D, whether it's a standalone Part D drug plan or if it's a Part D included in their Medicare Advantage plan, we have to have that scope of appointment, and there's only certain things that scope of appointment will let us talk about. It will let us talk about ancillary plans. It will let me talk about dental and vision. It'll let me talk about Medicare supplements too, not just Advantage and drug plans. And it also lets us talk about related health plans such as cancer plans, hospital indemnity plans, even accident plans are still considered health related. So we can cover those ancillary plans. We're not allowed to talk about, I shouldn't say talk about, we are not allowed to pitch life insurance or long-term care. That has to be done in a separate appointment, which is a little frustrating, especially when I'm working with a client that, we've done the reviews every 3 years, 3 years or more, we're doing them every year, that I should be able to talk about all aspects of insurance with that client. They're an established client, and it's one of my pet peeves of that scope of appointment that I need to do it every year for anybody I'm talking to about Medicare. And I get the premise of it. When it was first explained to me, it was, to prevent people from having people just show up at their door and say they're there for Medicare to help them, and they're just a salesperson showing up unannounced. So I get that portion of what the scope of appointment is for. If you're my client, I've already established that we have a relationship of I'm helping you with your Medicare. I shouldn't need a permission slip to talk to you again. If you don't want to talk to me, you're going to tell me, no, I don't like you anymore. I'm working with somebody else. Okay, fine. You're not going to sign, you wouldn't sign the sheet anyway. But my point is, I shouldn't need to get a permission slip to continue a conversation every year with my existing clients. And they invariably, I'll have people ask about life insurance when I'm in a Medicare meeting, especially when we're doing Medicare. They're looking for those final expense burial plans. So that's something we can help them with. But one of the reasons I brought up, I got a little off of where I was going, but that story that this person shared about that they had helped this company do their the life insurance it was a union group, and ended up what it was. I'm going to cut this. Not go through his whole story, but it was a 12-year-old boy that had drowned. And what had happened was there was a family picnic or company picnic or something, and there was 2 other children that were struggling. He was trying to save them, and all 3 children perished. But his story was he was able to deliver a check to the family because they had gotten life insurance, and they added the child rider onto their life insurance. And he was just thankful. He said it became real to him then. It was always, yes, I'm doing this to make a living. I'm making money at this, and money kind of being the motivator. He said his attitude to his business totally changed after delivering that death benefit, because now it became basically a mission for him, was making sure that you were covered. Kind of my story on that, not necessarily sharing the check, and I've probably even talked about this couple that they're still longtime clients of mine, and they were fairly brand new clients when they came to me. And the wife had breast cancer, had been over 10 years. And one of the nice things with our cancer plans, and depending on which plan, if you've been cancer-free for 5 years, you can get a cancer plan. I think a lot of people don't realize that. If you want to change a Medicare supplement plan, some of them say, in the past 24 months, have you been diagnosed or treated for cancer? If you can answer no to that, if it was 5 years ago. So that was kind of the situation with this couple. He was coming in for Medicare. I guess we were doing her health insurance too at the time. And so came up with the cancer plan. And most of the time I usually, because people are on a tight budget. And at that time, I was recommending $20,000 of cancer. It was fairly economical, and that was covering a lot of the plans had some really high max out of pockets. They were, most plans were averaging around $6,700 for their maximum out of pocket for the Medicare Advantage plan. So I was saying, let's look at $20,000 a cancer, and that because when with the Medicare Advantage, if you're having cancer treatments, chemo or radiation, you're going to pay 20% of the cost of that until you've hit that maximum out of pocket for your plan. And a lot of times, those plans can go that treatment can go over into the next year, and those out of pockets and deductibles all reset on January 1st, so you could hit that maximum out of pocket 2 years in a row. So I was presenting this to this couple, and the software I was using, I had I could put up 3 options. And so I had one with $30,000 on the cancer, and he was concerned, and he was concerned about her maybe, cancer maybe coming back. And so I mentioned to him, I said, so you like this setup here with the 20,000 cancer? He says, I think I like the 30,000. So we went ahead and did the 30,000 cancer, got it on both of them. Like I said, he was concerned about her. If something happened with her again, it would come up. A couple months later, after he'd signed up for this plan, they were out of state, had traveled out of state. He ended up with an emergency appendectomy, and it turns out his appendix was cancerous, or they just, that wasn't all of it, but he spent a couple weeks in the hospital. Like I said, they were out of town, so their hotel costs went up because she was staying there close by to him longer than they had planned on traveling. And so he spent several days in the hospital. He had a Medicare Advantage. And he also had a hospital indemnity plan. So that was one of the things I said. Yes, it was, like $1,800 total cost for his stay in the hospital, because he was paying like $300 per day up to, I think at that time it was like 6 days or whatever. Again, those plans change every year, but he had a big hospital bill. Well, he had this indemnity plan basically reimbursed him for that hospital stay. So that didn't hit him. And then also submitted the claim with the pathology report for the cancer, and they got a check for $30,000. And the great thing what happened for them was they didn't hit their maximum out of pocket for their plan. In fact, unfortunately, he had quite a delay on getting his surgery because then we were in COVID, and he kept getting his surgery delayed. And it wasn't at that time, they weren't doing anything routine. His was not a routine situation, but it was because they had so many COVID patients in the hospital, they didn't want him coming in for the surgery either. Because when you're getting treatment for cancer, your immune system is not at its best. Good note on that, I think it was in 21 he had the surgery, still doing great. Talked to them recently, and I told him, I said, you're my success story. I tell people about you all the time. But that's one of the things, I want people to think about. And again, those things, we usually do those enrollments when we're doing enrolling someone in a Medicare Advantage. It's easy to do that all at one time. You didn't even you can do that anytime. You can come to me and come to our office. And again, and that's one of those things, that's not Medicare. Any one of the agents in my office can help you with a hospital indemnity or a cancer plan, but there's no enrollment period. A lot of people say, well, do I have to get this right now? Absolutely not. You don't have to get it right now. But the one thing I know today that we might not know tomorrow or next week is right now you don't have cancer. Right now you haven't had a heart attack. All that can change in the next week. So when you put off life insurance or cancer plans or a cancer, heart attack, and stroke plan, is once your health changes, you can't get it. And that's what happened to another appointment I had this week. Was somebody, I had a lot of hospital charges, and I don't know if I want to stay with a Medicare Advantage. And I asked one question. I said, well, have you been in the hospital in the last 3 months? And she said, yes. And then we kind of did some figuring. It's like, no, it actually had been after 3 months, because Medicare supplement plans are going to say, have you been hospitalized in the last 3 months? That's one of the knockout questions. But the other knockout question was, have you been diagnosed cancer in the past 24 months? And she had also had cancer surgery. So those two things negated her being able to switch to a Medicare supplement at this time. But in a couple of years, she can relook at that. But the other thing was, again, this is one of the downsides of a Medicare Advantage, was she broke her hip. She was in the hospital here at Cookeville Regional. and she definitely was not ready to go home after her surgery, and she needed to go to the skilled nursing. And her insurance denied for her to go to what we call the blue roofs. I guess they don't charge as much or whatever. They sent her to Livingston. So now she's a little bit further from home, and it delayed, because they had to get the ambulance to take her there and get that approved. And she ended up moving on the Friday, and the therapists now were all off for the weekend. And so she wasn't even able to start therapy until Monday after getting discharged from the hospital on Friday, and I don't know if it would have made a big difference if she'd have moved a little closer, got it approved sooner. But that's one of those things that I always caution people on is, yes, you're healthy. You're not having any issues right now. You can save money with a Medicare Advantage, but with a Medicare supplement, your original Medicare, it's much more streamlined to get approved for a surgery, to get discharged from the hospital, move to the skilled nursing, and have Medicare just pick it up. So those are some things to consider. I always say, with the Medicare supplement, you're paying for coverage. So yes, if you're paying a premium on your Medicare supplement and you don't go to the doctor but once or twice a year for just a checkup, yeah, you're spending more than it costs to go to that doctor. Medicare Advantage is pay as you go. You pay for doctor visits, you pay for specialists, you pay for x-rays, all those things can add up. The problem is once that gets too expensive, it's too late to switch to that Medicare supplement because you're not going to pass the health underwriting. So that's why I encourage people, if they can, to get a Medicare supplement, but I know sometimes it's just not economically feasible. So it looks like I'm running out of time here. So just want you to remember, always, at Matt Libby Insurance, we cover you from head to toe. It doesn't have to cost you an arm and a leg. And we'll talk next week.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.